Hi, my name is Dries Elhill, and this is my concepts video covering the three concepts that confuse me, being the form fields being cleared, calculating the required elevators, and the dynamic pricing options. Um, First things first, clearing the form fields. So in my quote.js file, the function responsible for clearing the form fields is called clear form values. So as you can see, I have two of them. The function runs whenever the user changes the selected building type. For example, if the user starts entering information for a residential building, and they decide to change to commercial, the whole page will reset, closing, um, including closing the product line and the review estimated price for steps. Next, the function selects all inputs, text areas, and dropdowns inside the quote form. It then loops them through every selected control using for each. Inside the loop, a condition checks the control's ID. The building's dropdown is excluded because it contains the user's new selection, and every other control is being cleared by assigning an empty string to its value. The function also loops through the product cards. It removes the selected class and unchecks their radio buttons. This prevents the product line from being remaining selected, and after that, it clears the calculated elevators field and removes the step completion classes from the body. This resets the form's visual progress and hides sections that should not remain visible after a new building type is clicked. This prevents unrelated information from carrying over and keeps the quote calculation accurate and stops it from being skewed by information that you cannot see. The second thing I had trouble with was calculating the required elevators. Math was not my strongest suit in school. It was really English. But in my quote.js file, the number of elevators is calculated differently depending on whether the building type is residential, commercial, or industrial. First, the script reads the values entered in the form. Form values normally start as text, so parse int converts them into whole numbers because you cannot have a fraction of an elevator. If a value is empty or invalid, the code uses a zero instead, so negatives and fractions are not able to be used in the number of elevators. I can't use a dash, e, or a period. So for example, a building type with 60 residents, I'll do residential, 60 residents and 12 floors requires 5 elevators because it has 3 elevators for the 20 residents per floor, or for it's calculated with 1 elevator per 20 residents, so and 1 elevator per 10 floors. So even if this number went to 61, the number of elevators will go to 6 because you always have to round up. So you have 3 elevators from the 60 residents, 3 for 20, and then 2 elevators from the floors, 1 for 10 and 1 for 2. And then for commercial buildings, the calculation begins with a base of 3 elevators. It compares the building's occupancy against 50 people and its floors against 6 floors. The code chooses whichever ratio is larger, multiplies it by 3, then rounds upward. For industrial buildings, there is no extra formula because obviously for industrial buildings, you get what you ask for. You can get 1 elevator, you can get 50 elevators. The number of elevators required, which is going to mirror this, and if you take it to the product line, you will be priced accordingly. Finally, the elevator quantity is displayed in the number of elevators required field, which is used to calculate the price. The unit price is multiplied by the elevator quantity, so the installation fee is added and the final estimated price is shown to the user. So for each of these, as you can see, with standard, you have a 10% installation fee. With premium, it's 15%, and with Excellium, it's 20%. The third and the last thing, well, it wasn't the last thing, but it was the third thing that I felt like I had the most problem with was the dynamic pricing options. So in my quote.js file, the dynamic pricing is mainly controlled by a function called update pricing. My update pricing. So this function recalculates the quote whenever the user changes information in the form. So as you can see, I'll stay on industrial. I'll do standard, full screen this. And it shows the unit price, elevator cost, installation fee, and final price. Say I want to switch it around a little. Maybe I want, no, let me do residential actually. So say I want to switch it around a little. Maybe I want more than 6 elevators at $52,000. Maybe I feel like my residents are going to want more than 6 elevators. Maybe I might not have 120 residents, but I might put 120 residents. And as you can see, it updates dynamically. So you put 120, now you're at 7 elevators for 3 floors. The price went up accordingly, and the page did not have to reset to get this new information. As you can see, I cleared the residence field and the rest of the page closed because this is what keeps it dynamic. Keeping these values inside of one object makes the pricing easier to manage. If a price needs a change later, it can be updated in one location and you don't have to rewrite the entire calculation. Inside update pricing, the script first determines which product line the user selected. The get selected tier, the get selected tier function finds the product card with the selected class and reads its data value. That data value is used to retrieve the matching price and installation rate from tier config. Nextly, the script calls the get elevator count, and this runs the correct elevator calculation for the selected building type, whether it be residential, commercial, or industrial. Each building uses a different logic to determine the required number of elevators. So once the product and elevator quantity are known, the script begins calculating the price as to not leave out any information. So I have 80 residents, 3 floors. Choose the product line so the script can come up with the price. After that, the elevator cost is multiplied by the product's installation rate, and this produces the installation fee. For example, imagine a product requires 2 premium elevators. You go premium. The cost is $24,000. The installation fee being 15% of that makes it $3,600, making the final price $27,600. The format currency function formats these numbers as readable dollar amounts, which makes it more cohesive and easier from a client's perspective to see how much they're spending and see how much they might spend. Let them play with the price a little. The script then places each formatted value into its correct element in quote.html, and it updates the unit price, elevator cost, and installation fee, along with the final price cards using their unique IDs. What makes this pricing dynamic is the form event listeners. The form event listeners listen for change and input. So whether somebody decides to type in a new number and then leave it, or whether they just decide they want to hover it and play with it, the prices and everything else, the number of elevators required changes dynamically to suit the client's needs. This means that the visitor does not need to refresh the page or press another calculate button. The elevator quantity and estimated price update immediately as the form changes, keeping it dynamic and something that a client would actually pay for. Thank you.